Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Glyn Collinson. I'm a space scientist by trade, and I'm an amateur singer-songwriter. Anybody interested in the space part of my life can come back to my talk tomorrow, but today I'm going to focus on this wooden thing that's hung around my neck. Long-time Hackers attendee, Kirk McCusick and I, have taken a number of epic adventures together over the years, most recently spending 2 summers driving around Australia. Now, if you'll indulge us, we'd like to share with you a couple of stories from the Australian outback. The first comes from a small town called Winton. Winton has 3 claims to fame. Its first is the world's biggest deck chair, and we asked if we could sit in the chair, and they said no. The second is it's the site of the first board meeting of the Queensland and Northern Territories Air Service, better known by its acronym of Qantas. Incidentally, Winton used to be Qantas's hub, and now it has no air service whatsoever. The third claim to fame, which is an honest-to-God claim to fame, is that it's where Australia's most famous song was written, of which I'm sure you're familiar, Waltzing Matilda. Now, the town has an entire fracking museum dedicated to Waltzing Matilda. On entering the museum, the first thing you see is this huge diorama that depicts the setting for the song. And it also includes 52 different versions which you can listen to. The tune was written in 1895 by a woman called Christina McPherson, who played it to one of Australia's most famous folk heroes, Banjo Patterson, who wrote the words. And originally, it would have sounded a little something like this. Once there was a swag man who can't die the billabong. You know, actually, I think about it. This song is actually written in, Victorian colonial English, so perhaps some translation is required. So we have a swagman. A swagman is a bum who goes around with his swag, which is like a rolled-up greatcoat over his shoulder. And swagmen could often be found, it turns out, at homesteads at around sundown, just when there might be dinner coming onto the table. And a billabong is a waterhole. So we have under the shade of a koolaya tree. Self-explanatory, right? And he sat as he looked, and he waited till his billy boiled. Okay, a billy isn't a goat. It's this. This is a billy, which we boiled on the Catherine River. It's like a thing with a tight metal lid. Will come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda actually has several different meanings. If a copper, a policeman, were to tell you, you'll come a waltzing Matilda with me, that's just a flowering way of saying you're under arrest, or as we say in England, you'll nick my son. But its most common usage really comes from 19th century German soldiers. And they called their swag Matilda. So when they went a-waltzing with their Matilda, I think you can follow me, or at least, honest to God, this is what we learnt at the Waltzing Matilda Museum. Exactly. So, and indeed, then we have a chorus, which you may not recognize. They go, who come a-waltzing Matilda, me darling? Who come a-waltzing Matilda with me? Waltzing Matilda, leading on a water bag, and who come a-waltzing Matilda with me? You see, if those lyrics don't sound particularly familiar, it's because this song was bought by the Billy Tea Company in the early 20s, who printed this manuscript on the back of their tea packets, and they changed the lyrics of the chorus to those which we have today, because they feel that the whole song didn't really emphasize the whole tea drinking aspect of Australia nearly enough. This is the honest-to-God truth. Actually, so one of the earliest recordings of Waltzing Matilda, which is of this version, came on a wax cylinder and would have sounded something approximately like this. Oh, one more thing. You should also probably know that a jumbuck is a sheep, and a tucker bag is a bag you put your tucker in. Okay. So this is what it would have sounded like. Up came the jump bag to drink at the water hole. Up came the jump bag to grab him with glee, and he sang as he put him away in the tucker bag. Well, come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda. Well, come a waltzing Matilda with me. And he sang as he looked at his belly boiling. Well, come a waltzing Matilda with me. The song was not a financial success. Unsurprisingly, and would have faded into obscurity had it not been for the unlikely interruption of World Wars I and II. Yeah. And as the Anzacs went off to fight in Gallipoli and in the Somme and in many other places fighting for their liberty, they sang as they marched. And this is, of course, they sang Waltzing Matilda. And this is probably the reason why, if you hear it today, it's got this sort of anthemic kind of, let's go and give the Boche a damn good boshing kind of, song thing. So this is roughly where it's at today. Goes. Up came the squatter, riding his thoroughbred. Up came policemen, 1, 2, and 3. Annie, who is the jumbag you've got in the tucker bag? And you'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, who'll come a waltzing Matilda with me? Who's this the jumbag you've got in the tucker bag? And you'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. Yeah, so for those of you who are not following the plot, and if you don't, I don't blame you, our swagman has basically done sheep rustling, and of course in those days it's a capital offence. So, and the policemen have just come up and arrested him, and the most likely outcome for him is a long night in a cold cell, followed by a short and very exciting visit to the gallows. So instead of surrendering to this, he jumps into the billabong and drowns himself. Happy ending, but it's the Australian ideal of it's better to die free than live in chains. And it's because of this, it nearly became Australia's official national anthem, but was beaten by the utterly gutless Advance Australia Fair, because, quite frankly, Waltzing Matilda rather does emphasise the whole criminal aspect of Australia just a bit too much. Dear me. So it's, I think, another reason why it's such a fantastic song, and I really believe it, is because you can use it to convey pretty much any emotion you want. It's, honestly, I mean, for example, I've just stirred you all to go off to war and fight in the trenches, but if I play it very differently, I can give it a completely different feel. Up jumped the squatter into the billabong, drowning himself by the koolaya tree. And his voice can be heard as it sings in the billabongs. Who'll come waltzing Matilda with me? But before you will go off and slit your wrist, the song does actually have a happy ending. You see, in the 1952 Helsinki Olympics, Marjorie Jackson won gold medal in both the 100 and 200 meter. And, of course, she went up to the winner's podium, fully expecting to hear, oh God, Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are young and free. Oh, no. Who'll come a waltzing Matilda, me darling? Who'll come a waltzing Matilda with me? Waltzing Matilda, leading on a water bag, and who'll come a waltzing Matilda with me? You see, even the Finns thought it was the national anthem. And that's the story of Waltzing Matilda. Thank you.